Okay, so this is going to be about the final chapters to the book From Here to the Great Unknown, chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9. Chapter 6 is 10 years after she divorced Michael Jackson. We find out that she wants to get her solo career off the ground. And she's, people within the record company are wanting her to sound like her father. She doesn't want to sound like her father, although she knows she has people that want her to sound like her dad. She doesn't want that. She does 3 albums, does tours, loves interacting with the fans, loves, meeting them and getting to know them and talking to them and how they tell her that her music saved them during a dark period of their life. She goes from divorcing Michael Jackson to dating John Ozaka, in between John Ozaka and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage becomes her 3rd husband for 108 days. And then from Nicolas Cage to Lockwood. Okay. She goes to Japan to have the wedding, the rehearsal dinner, the Komodo fittings for her, Riley's friends, and Priscilla. They then get married in Japan. They come back to the States. She wants desperately to have more children. She goes through a round of IVF, gets pregnant with Harper and Finley, has them on October 8th, 2008. After having them, she is prescribed oxycodone, which is to help with pain management during or after C-section. First, she takes it to manage pain. No problem. Then it becomes from managing pain to help her sleep. And then it's an ongoing cycle. Then the older ones, Riley and Benjamin, find out how deep it is and like, no, Ma, you got to get off. So she goes from oxycodone to cocaine to pills. And during that time, she goes on a bus from California to Nashville. This is all in a way to get her sober because she can't kick the habit. It is so far deep in that she almost loses her life because her heart was in failure from all the cocaine, all the opioid usage, and alcohol and the pills. It was ongoing, so she had to go do rehab. Well, Riley's sitting there with Benjamin taking care of the twins. Him and Riley are taking turns taking care of the twins. Well, their mother's in rehab. Mom gets out of rehab. Then Benjamin has scared because he sees his mom having a seizure from her addiction. That scares the shit out of him. He goes into a mental spiral. And he lets Mom know, Ma, I don't feel too great. Something's going on. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like shit. Well, Lisa and Benjamin had this close bond like Elvis and Gladys did. Gladys loved her baby boy so much she drank herself to death worrying about him while he was in the army. Same thing with Lisa. Lisa got scared for Benjamin because Benjamin, was out there in the public eye and she didn't want him to have all that pressure on him. But at the same time, she wanted him to be safe. Benjamin was a spinning image of Elvis. He'd put 2 pictures, one of Benjamin, one of Elvis, side by side, and he looks exactly like his grandpa. But Benjamin goes in a downhill spiral mentally, and Riley, Lisa, Riley's husband don't see the signs. During this time, Riley and Benjamin are touring Japan and getting to know the culture and how they live their lives and how they move around there in that city, in that country. And they start, they chill out, they eat rice balls. Benjamin has this obsession with Riley's banana shoes, these bright yellow shoes that were Nikes. And he's like, when you gonna get me some, sis? I want a pair. He keeps harping her about that. And she's like, dude, let up. And she ended up getting drunk that night with him. And he called her a lightweight because she couldn't hold her alcohol. This isn't the first time she drank alcohol. In the last chapter, one of the chapters, she drank one of her mom's alcoholic beverages that upset her stomach, and she's like, yeah, Riley, you drank one of my alcoholic beverages. Now your stomach's all fucked up because you can't handle it. You can't tolerate it. You're not strong enough to tolerate it. And so Riley ended up getting sick, and all of that. And then after they come back from Japan, Benjamin takes a mental health downhill turn mentally, and he's not himself. He's very, he's by himself. He's not interacting with anybody. Nobody understands what's going on. Everybody thinks, oh, Benjamin just in one of his moods. We're just going to let him be. And when he's ready to talk, he'll talk. Well, during that time period, Lisa and the twins were staying in a motel, because that house had a mold problem. And during that time period, Benjamin was throwing a birthday party for his girlfriend and a few friends. And they were throwing a party for the girlfriend, and he had a few friends over, and nobody saw Benjamin go into the bedroom and unalive himself. Somebody had to break into the bedroom because the door was locked, and somebody found him lifeless on the floor. The assistant for Lisa called Riley and said, Ben shot himself. Ben shot himself. And this was 5:30 in the morning, and Riley's like, I need to get out of the house. I need to go get my mom. I need to talk to my mother and let her know. Because Riley knew as soon as she opened her mouth to tell her mom, Lisa, what happened to Ben, she knew Lisa wouldn't survive that. That crushed her soul. So she goes over to the hotel, tells the front desk, it's an emergency. I need you to let me see my mom. Something has happened. Please help. They come with her. She's pounding on the door 3 or 4 times loud and trying to get her mom to wake up, and the person's right there with her, and she finally answers the door half asleep, not nearly awake, partially awake, and Riley looks at her mother and says, Ben shot himself. Ben shot himself. And as soon as she couldn't, it didn't register on her face, so she goes in and says, okay, I want to go see Benjamin now. And Harper and Finley, Mom, is Ben okay? And she's like, no. And as soon as she said no, the twins were crying because they automatically knew it didn't feel right. So Lisa left the kids, the twins with the babysitter, ran over to the house. The house was already closed off with caution tape because it was a crime scene. They had to wait for over an hour to make sure that there was no foul play involved, scanning all the bedroom and all throughout the house. And the police officer looked at Lisa and he said, we normally don't do this, Miss Presley, but we'll let you see your son. And she's like, I want to see my son now. So she sits at the bottom of the stairs towards the entranceway to the house and waits for them to bring down his body. They bring him down in a gurney, in a body bag. They unzip him so that Riley and Lisa can see Benjamin for themselves, just to make sure this isn't a joke. Lisa cradles his head in her hands. One of her hands is on the back of his head and the other part's on his face. She's cradling him in her arms and she's saying, what did you do, Ben? What did you do? And she let go. She gently put his head back down. She's got blood all over her hands because she held the back of his head. And she covered her face in his blood because she was in hysterics. She was crying. And she just sat there and her knees buckled. And she didn't know how to take that. Riley had to lay on the floor because she couldn't stand up. That's how weak she was. She couldn't stand up. And they all broke down in hysterics. Danny had flown in from Portland to California to see what was happening, to see if it was really true. And he saw it for himself and it just crushed his soul. After they had examined him, Lisa asked a funeral home director if she could keep Ben in the house. The funeral director said, well, if you want to keep Ben in the house, you have to have him on dry ice, and the room you have to have him in, that you want him in, needs to be at 55 degrees, and you need to tend to him every day, so that he doesn't decay. And so she brought him in, tended to him. She wanted a tattoo of his name on her hand, just as Ben did for Lisa. his mother. He put her middle name and first name on his hand. And she asked the tattoo artist, can you do his name on my hand? And he said, well, I need a picture and I need to see what the position of the tattoo is so I can get it the way it's supposed to be. And he's like, do you have any pictures of your son? And she's like, no, but he's in the casillas. And Riley's looking at her mom going, what the fuck are you doing? You're not putting that poor man in there with my dead brother. No fucking way. But you couldn't tell Lisa not to do something because she was going to do it regardless, right? She was going to do it regardless. And, so he went in there, saw the positioning of the tattoo, and he gave her the tattoo. And Lisa had to make the decision, where do I bury Benjamin? Is it Hawaii or is it Graceland? So they had the choice to they put him in the meditation garden at Graceland. They gave him a proper send-off. They blessed him, and then they sent him off to Graceland to be buried in the meditation garden. Now, after this, Lisa gets surgery for her stomach to lose weight. And something goes wrong because years after she has it, she has internal issues. Her stomach hurts. She's tried to eat Tums and Pepto-Bismol to keep it under wraps, but it's gotten so bad that when she went to Disneyland with Riley, Ben, and the twins, she had stomach pain. And she didn't know how else to deal with it before all that starts happening. We find out that Tupelo was born in August 2022. Lisa meets Tupelo, and the first thing that she says after she sees her granddaughter is, Ben brought you to me. And she interacts with Tupelo, got to spend time with her. After that, she starts having internal issues with her stomach. She's got stomach pain. She don't feel good. She feels like complete shit. She asked Danny to bring her some Tums to kind of ease the pain. Danny rushes to the house. When he's there, he finds her lifeless, like unresponsive, in her bedroom. And then he calls for one of the people that is at her house to call the ambulance and have the ambulance come to get her and take her to the hospital. Now, while all this is happening, Danny is trying to get a hold of Riley, and Riley's on the way home because she hears about it. Is trying to get there. You know, she's texting her dad back and forth. Is Mom okay? What's happening? Mom went into cardiac arrest. They're trying to bring her back. They brought her back. Now she's in cardiac arrest again. I'll keep tabs on it for you. And as this is going on, Tupelo is crying in hysterics. She knows something is wrong with Grandma. She can sense that something's not right. Riley is with a friend that is helping with Tupelo while trying to get Riley back to California. Riley lands a couple hours later, but before she lands in California, she texts her father and says, did Mom die? Is Mom okay? And Danny texts her and says, your mom died a few minutes ago, honey. I'm sorry. And I just wanted to tell you before the press got a hold of it. And I will say this too. Danny was one of the most loyal, sincere people that Lisa had in her inner circle. I really wish that they had stayed together because I know that he would have done anything for her. He was with her from the age of 17 up to the time she died. Even though they never got romantically back together, never got remarried, they were always close friends. I feel that Michael Jackson was being completely selfish, did not care for anything or anyone else but himself during that time, and he wanted Lisa to himself. But in order for him to do that, he had to tear out Danny's heart. And Danny wasn't comfortable with that. That tore Danny to shreds. And Michael's sitting there smiling and ha-ha and kikiing it as if it's funny. It's not funny. You have the audacity to take a married woman from her husband, even though she told you herself that she had a marriage that was in trouble. You took that and you ran with it. You tore out another man's heart to get what you wanted, even though you knew it was going to hurt her and she was going to be pissed off at herself for hurting her first ex-husband. Like, I understand Michael wanted to be a dad and he wanted to have that. But how can you have that if you're wanting to put your career first. You're married, you have a wife, you have stepchildren, you want children of your own, but you got all these yes people around you to give you what you want without you having to ask more than once. Your wife's seeing a pattern being repeated that happened to her father, and now she's seeing it happen with you, and she's trying to save you from the same tragic outcome that she saw her father have to endure, and you don't want to listen to her. She then makes the decision to divorce you and move on with her life and try to better herself, but you suck her back in, and y'all talk about wanting to get back together. Y'all break up because you don't know what the fuck you want. You tell her, oh, I want you to be the mother of my children, but you don't cut out your yes people. And then you ice her out because she's calling you out on your shit. Oh, but after she divorces you, you marry Debbie. Debbie is the one to carry your children. Meanwhile, while Debbie's carrying your children, you're out there having a romantic relationship with your ex-wife. Well, Debbie Rowe is carrying your children. Have it make sense. I understand some fans going to be pissed off at me for saying this, but Michael is being selfish. Michael is being a douchebag for that. You don't go and ruin somebody else's marriage because you want them to yourself. You wait for that shit to fall out on its own. You don't go in there, swoop her up, and be like, oh, I want you to marry me, and plus, I want you to ditch your husband for me and have my children. What the fuck is that? Like, why, dude? What joy do you get in doing that to someone? I don't get it. I mean, out of all the men she had been married to, I think Danny was the most stable one out of them all. Yes, Michael Jackson was the pop star, but he didn't know how to say no to people. He was very naive, very selfish, didn't know when to tell the other yes people to back off. Prissy was just mad because she felt that Michael was going to cut Priscilla out of the picture. Now, had Michael done that, Lisa Marie wouldn't have been in $16 million worth of debt, thanks to her own mother. And I will say this too, Priscilla was in it for nothing but money. Yes, she gave Elvis a child, but she treated that child like shit because she wanted Elvis to herself. And when Elvis didn't want her no more, she threw a fucking conniption fit and dragged his ass to court because she wanted more money. And now look where everything's at. Lisa's gone, Elvis is gone, Benjamin's gone. Riley, Harper, Finley, and Tupelo are the only ones left standing. And Riley has to have a strong backbone to tell her grandma, Nona, Priscilla, when to back the fuck off. Because Priscilla's a leech, Lockwood's a leech. Lockwood took $2,000 from the girls' inheritance for himself when it's not for him, it's for his daughters. And now Priscilla's going to come out with another book, try to debunk these claims that Lisa made in her book. I'm sorry, but I'm sticking with Lisa on this. It took years for Lisa to talk about this, and now Prissy's getting mad because she's being exposed for being a shitty wife and a shitty mom and a shitty grandma. What else is there? If I forgot anything, please let me know what it is, but I doubt I forgot anything. This woman deserved better. She deserved to have a better life, a better person to take care of her. I'm not saying Elvis wasn't great. I wish he had married someone else to be stepmom to her so she didn't have to go through this shit. Because her losing her father was her downfall to her emotional, mental, physical well-being. She grew up being hated by her mom, and her mom started the family. Tell me what I missed if I missed anything. This video is not to harm or harass anyone. Good day. This is just my point of view. Not everybody's going to agree, and that's fine. But this is mine. Alright? Thanks. Bye.